What is up, guys? It's your boy GRC. My computer is being a little buggy right now, so I'm trying to exit out of a lot of stuff. So in the comments, if you could let me know, how's my internet? How's the audio? Thank you very much. Okay, guys, we have a very special episode. First of all, it's your boy GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. We don't keep count of the days because we got plenty of days to come. I don't even think about that shit. I might have this show running forever. You never know. I'm not saying that I'll be on the fucking show every day, though. That's for sure. At some point, I'm totally loving it for a while. Like just fucking loving it. Not going to curse. Not going to say the R word. Not going to say any funny words today because sometimes my family watches and they don't like when I drop the hard R, the re word. So I got to stop with that because that's not a nice word. And I'm going to be nicer person because God is the best. Guys, today we're talking about ICOSA Hedron. Do you like to learn about cryptos? Do you like to learn about cryptos that are going to be tied to the T-share, a rate that only goes up, a derivative product that inflates constantly, something, the funny part is it's like you'll talk to a Hexican and they'll tell you why Hedron's going to zero. It's because it inflates forever. And then I'm like, wait, doesn't Hex inflate forever? And then I look at them and they're like, oh, wait, I just have $100 million. So I don't think about reality. And I'm like, yeah, that's more like it. Because the truth is, this is a derivative product of an always inflating product that you can buy a bigger stake in than you can in Hex, which is also a forever inflating product. So I think it's really interesting to actually think about what's going on. Richard's been mentioning Hedron a few times in the last month, which is omega bullish. Hex has NFTs. Are you kidding me? Of course Hex has NFTs. Alex from Hedron puts in crazy amounts of work. Let's do a comparison test real quick, Sam. Alex from Hedron gets no money, gives everyone free money, and then finishes all his test nets on time. So he comes out with a product that gives everyone free money, and then he comes out with the test nets faster than the guys that got $60 million. So I'm sitting here and thinking to myself, Alex is the GOAT. Like, what? This dude didn't get any money for this. He spent money for this. And he gave you free money. He gave me hundreds and hundreds of free dollars, not thousands, but hundreds. And now people are like, it inflates forever. Kids going to zero. You're giving too many people big bags. I'm like, dude, there's dudes making like 100,000 hex a day. And I'm buying those bags, baby, because that's not how crypto works. Just because something inflates or something deflates has nothing to do with the price action, period. If no one fucking buys it, or if no one talks about it, or if no one looks at it. Guys, I'm taking bodies right now. Alex from Hedron's coming out with a new front end every fucking week. And I can't get the guy on the show. You know what that means? He's busy. He's really busy. And he does answer me on time to time, but I can tell he's just busy because he's just like here, there, and the other. But anyway, I love Alex from Hedron. He's showing all of these other projects what the fuck is up, in my opinion, when it comes to getting shit done. I'm not talking about the tokenomics. I'm talking about getting stuff done. This guy is incredible. I just checked out the website. We're going to pull up the website. We're going to show you about ICOSA. But as we start, guys, and we're going to play the song here in 2 seconds. And I am going to do the KSB TV /golf thing. I want to do it in the middle because there's a lot more people in the middle when we're talking. And I want to see how that one works this time. I've been kind of switching it up. But guys, I'm going to the golf tournament. And that's next month. And I'm going to play the promo for that in the middle of the show. Guys, let's get into it. I'm going to teach you about Hedron. I'm going to teach you about Hex, Hedron, ICOSA, and then we're going to go into the testnet. We're going to talk about the opportunities. We're going to talk about maybe some potential ways to make serious gains, frankly. And we have Crypto Sloth here, one of the brightest young men in this community. He's in school. He's going to be a dentist, but he loves crypto. And he can't stay off crypto in the morning because we love him on here. Guys, GRC out. 1 minute, 9 seconds. Read the lyrics on the screen. If you're not, smash the like. I'm going to drop the link below right this second, guys. You have to retweet it or you're going to hell.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
Yo, what's up, brother? How you doing? It is good to see you again.
Dude, it's great to see you. Always a pleasure to be on Crypto in the Morning with you and Jim Rat, man.
Hey, yeah, so we're going to be talking about some cool shit with Hedron and ICOSA. We've actually talked about it a couple times, but I know you spend more time in the group of people, whether it's Discord or Telegram, than I do, and pick up on some of the details that are not in their white paper or not on their website. So I'm excited to chat with you about that and hear your thoughts on it, because I think that this could be, I think you've probably seen, there's one big thing, right? There's one big thing that's all pivoting on the price of the ICOSA. Is it going to work? It really depends on the price of the ICOSA token. If the price of the ICOSA token makes so that trading an HSI doesn't give you a 90% discount on your hex stake, cool, right? Maybe at 80, 70% LTV you can get kind of on it. Then you're like, okay, cool.
Explain, Sam.
Maybe you can increase the borrowing rate. So with Hedron, nobody's using borrowing.
And after he makes this point, we're gonna jump back and then jump forward a little bit. But make the point, please, because I know what you're talking about.
Nobody's using the borrowing in Hedron. There's like 6 people who are using it, right? And some people are just using it to test it out. Well, with ICOSA, where you can take your Hedron HSI stake and sell it to this contract and mint this other token, if that allows, and then borrow against it. We'll get into all the details, but hopefully this is going to be super bullish on the Hedron price. In my mind, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be great. I got good stuff for you guys. Extra things to consider, and then maybe some at least theoretical reasons why the price could reach that point where it makes sense to sell your HSIs, both for liquidating your stakes, because maybe for some reason in your life you need some money and you need to get rid of this stake. Maybe you just overstaked and now you need to get out a little bit, or maybe there's some arbitrage. Maybe you're incentivized to sell those stakes because you're just going to make money right up front. And then
I think there's,
but I think GRC wants to take a step back a little bit first before we get there.
I do, but I agree with that. That gets me a little excited. I'm getting way better at noticing arbitrage and just being able to like look at it. I don't necessarily act on much yet. I hate to say I'm not there yet because I could be there, but I'm just a cautious dude and I just do streaming a lot. So it's like I've just been on the computer, like doing other shit, kind of like learning other stuff. But I'm getting to that point where I can see these premiums and I can actually act on them in fluid motion, which is very fun. It's very interesting because other people can't do it, because how much time you have to stare at the screen to do it. It takes years. And I just know it. I just don't have to ask. Like if a dude's in here and he's like, I got 5 PhDs, this, that, and the other, and I make 270 grand a year. I want to start learning how to arbitrage crypto. I'm like, I'll see you in 3 years. Period. Because you just can't have enough nuance insight. You can't on the crypto market. I'm not talking about how money works in general, but we're talking about a derivative of a layer 2 built on Ethereum it's getting complicated, right? We're getting to the point where if you're not actually keeping up, following these people on Twitter in their Telegram groups, we're doing this the day this stuff comes out. This is the first thing I saw last night before I went to bed. ICOSA staking is live. What does someone who's good
Just
with
to test
crypto? Just the testnet. I know. Sorry, guys. The testnet is live, and I wrote that in the title. But I want to jump back, and I'm just going to start this conversation, and we can let it flow from there. And if you're new in here, we're starting it here for you because I don't really feel like talking about this shit again. But we got to, because there's actually people in here that I was just in the Cultivate Crypto chat, and there was some guys in there that definitely didn't know what Hedron was. So I know there's some people. So Hex. If you guys don't know what Hex is, you're really far behind. But if you don't know what Hex is our favorite coin. It's a layer 1. It's a layer 2. It's the best store of value, in my opinion, on the blockchain right now, and it has the best security. Okay, we'll just keep there with the Hex. Now we're getting into a little baby thing called Hedron that nobody was thinking about at the time, but GRC was thinking a little bit. Bullish was thinking, Crypto Sloth was thinking, we're all thinking now. So when that came out, how the coin was dropped, it was airdropped to Hex stakers for free. Or is it free claim or airdrop, whatever the fuck it is called. If you were staking Hex, you got a certain amount of Hedron, and you still get that Hedron based on the length of your Hex stakes. Okay, so that's how it came into circulation. Let's start talking about what is Hedron. If for like someone that didn't know what Hedron was, that if they were trying to get technical, it's a wrapped stake, right? Is that the best way to put it? It's a wrapped Hex stake. And then I'm going to let you go. So a HSI is a wrapped Hex stake, and that is kind of what started the Hedron like use case. I think that's kind of where it started. Can you just go into, because now I'm getting all blah 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 blah. But just go into what is Hedron.
Talk about Hedron.
Yeah. So I guess the easiest way to kind of just see Hedron from a large point of view is it has a couple main goals. One, it wants to provide extra liquidity to Hex stakers, and 2, it wants to provide a tokenized version of a B share. So these are kind of the 2 main goals, and it does that through 3 different functions that exist within the Hedron smart contract. The minting Hedron, which is kind of like how you get Hedron in the market, like to exist. The HSI smart contract, which is like the main piece of tech that everybody likes about Hedron, the encapsulated stake function. And then you also have the advanceable Hedron, which is another way to get Hedron into the system, to exist. But that has more to do with like borrowing. So the first 2 are really kind of the main features. And then the third one is a little extra feature to kind of help the price appreciation of the token. So for minting Hedron, if you have a Hex stake, you are entitled to mint a certain number of Hedron every single day. And that number is determined by the number of B shares that you have. So every single day that your stake pays you Hex, the number of B shares that you have is how many Hedron you can mint for that day. So say you have 100 B shares for a 10-day stake. Each day you're going to get 100 Hedron tokens mintable. And at the very end of it, you can mint, I believe that's 1,000 Hedron. With each day, you have an ability to mint 100. Now, the longer you stake and the more B shares you have, the more Hedron you're able to mint. That's very straightforward. And so,
do you have the numbers by any chance? Quick side tangent. Did you ever look up the numbers of the people that claimed the 10x versus the amount of people that haven't claimed it all?
I believe most people have. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
They should have been more quiet about that at the time, little fuckers.
No, we were actually, that's one thing you can maybe credit the people. In the
they were loud and proud about that.
Because we're like, guys, like this is it. This is your only chance to get this launch bonus, this 10x. And technically, it benefited us more to not have people know about it and then like tell people later. But people were blasting this all over Twitter, months before the contract went live.
And crypto was in a different stage at the time as well. It's fair to say. Just a few months ago,
in February.
Just a few months ago, guys, crypto was in a very different position. We were all fat and happy still. Trust me.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was I? So that's the minting of Hedron. So that's how it gets introduced into existence. And then you have the smart contract HSI tokenization of Hedron. So normally when you make a hex stake, you go to go.hex.com and then you make a stake, and that stake is hard locked into whatever wallet you staked it on. Because your coins are burned, and then that specific address is credited with a certain number of shares. And then at the end of the stake, when you unstake, the app, hex.com, the smart contract, calculates how much interest you're paid, and it mints those coins. If you go to hedron.pro and you stake through their user interface, when you make a stake, that hex gets sent to another smart contract called a hex stake instance. And then that specific smart contract can only do like 3 things: start a stake, end a stake, good accounting, and emergency end stake. The 4 things that you can do on hex.com, that smart contract can do completely without counterparty risk. So there are no admin keys, and the only person who has access to the ability to run the functions on the smart contract is the person who made it in the first place through hedron.pro. And so now what happens is you have an address that owns a smart contract. You deposit hex into that smart contract, and that smart contract makes a hex stake for you. So now you own the thing that owns the smart contract, the hex stake. Well, now that we have wrapped a hex stake into a smart contract, it then infers a bunch of extra properties to the stake that it didn't have before. Because now anything that can be done with a smart contract can now be done to that hex stake, because the smart contract owns the hex stake. Well, one cool thing that you can do,
real quick, I want to hear about all this, and I'm thinking about what GRC was mentioning, I think, before he came on, and I'm like, fuck, try explaining this to somebody who doesn't understand crypto, and they were lost 8 minutes ago. They have fucking no idea what's going on right now.
No, I know. It gets so hard, and that's why I just mentioned over and over the screen time. Don't I, Sam? I just mentioned the screen time. It has so little to do with how smart a person is, but it has way more to do with what they want to be looking at and how long they look at it.
Well, you need to understand the language. Like, you need to know what a smart contract is. You need to know like what hex staking is. You need to know what T shares are, and you need to know what B shares are and how they're the same, different, whatever. Like, to even be keeping up with this.
You need to understand the macro. If you don't understand the 85% dump system, you're screwed. You're 100% screwed. Like, if you do not understand that all your bags are going to dump 85% from the top, you're fucked. If you don't understand that, you have to understand that. Like, it's not that you can't experience it, because if I experienced it, which I just did, it's fine, because I knew. Somebody told me 50 freaking times in a row on stream, somebody very popular, that cryptos dump 85% or more every day, he told me.
And this is, I just on a tangent, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were mentioning, so the HSI, right? So you take your hex, you put that smart contract basically into another smart contract effectively, and that gives you other benefits. And you were just about to get into some of the other benefits of having an HSI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so by having your hex stake be technically owned by a smart contract, it infers a lot more properties of interoperability. So you could do more things with this hex stake now than you could have before just by staking through go.hex.com. Now, one of these things is you can then route the ownership of that smart contract from your private keys to an NFT. So now you don't own the HSI anymore. An NFT, a non-fungible token, owns that smart contract that owns the hex stake. But your private keys then own the NFT that owns everything down. But what this does is, just like, you can go buy $1 million JPEG loosely associated with a serial number on OpenSea. Well, now you can buy a hex stake that's hard associated with an NFT on OpenSea as well.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
You can now transfer these things, hex stakes,
and it always goes up in
person.
value in P-share rate.
Yeah, you own this piece of tech that owns this other piece of tech that owns this trustless interest, yield-bearing asset, right? And then by unraveling each of these wrappers, you can then get access to that yield-bearing asset yourself. But because we've put so many different layers of tech, we've wrapped it under different layers of tech, we can now access different properties of the crypto space while still having that fundamental value under it. So like if you think of like Hex like as like a foundation to build a house on, now that we've wrapped different properties on top of it, we can then use that strong foundation to continue to build outward and continue to interact with other things in this space as a whole, which I think is really cool. And the most basic form of that is just, peer-to-peer transactions. I can now sell my HSI to Sam, who can then sell it to GRC, who can like sell it back to me, But it's not just that. Well, go ahead, Sam.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying it's not just that. That's just the most basic form of utility, OTC trading, or trustless trading of these stakes, which we didn't have before. But now these stakes have all of the properties that NFTs have, and they also simultaneously have all the properties that a smart contract has. Our ability to utilize and maximize the value of these stakes is now only really limited by our imagination, because we have the tech to go along and use these things. However, we can innovate, however fastly we can innovate with the tech that we have. And I think that's really cool.
It's fascinating because you could do this same idea applied to other things. I find it very interesting that at some point when you do have, say, a foundational layer and you build 3 layers on top of it, or 4, 6, 12 layers on top of it, there's a lot more opportunity for divergence from the actual value, right? Because there are times where, say, Maxi, for example, which is another similar thing. If you're not familiar with this, it's kind of like the same idea where you're wrapping Hex in another smart contract that stakes your shit, right? Well, the Maxi premium fluctuates, right? And at times in legacy, which I'm sure it holds for crypto, or even more so because it's more volatile, when there's times where you have 2 assets that should be related, like Hex and Maxi, and you have turbulent times or abnormal activity that happens, like black swan type of events, you have divergence in these premiums that happen. And for the astute investor, right? And I think of an investor as a class of person who holds things for long periods of time, not somebody that holds something for, say, 3 or 4 months or a year or 2, right? Like, and I think of an investor as somebody who does something for a long time. And if you're just doing something for a short period of time, I don't really think of that as investing as much as I do as something for a long time.
Boy.
But
that's just, you're making money. That's making money.
And nothing wrong with that. Right. No. But you have those I think there's going to be opportunities as, right? Like, we're talking about something that's built on top of Hex, and then this thing is built on top of that. And it gets abstract for a lot of people, which gives opportunity for people who truly understand it. When those price divergences happen, like there's an anomaly, like a black swan, there could be opportunity to pick shit up for dirt cheap. Right, like absolutely, and it happens in the reverse, where the premium could build so much because people are paying attention to this, they're microscopically focused on this, and they miss the broader picture, and the premium is 16x when it should only be 2x, and you can sell out on the thing that was more expensive. Like, I see this as this abstraction continues to build, we're going to have more of these layers, as you're mentioning, and it's going to present more and more opportunity for somebody who's really paying attention to all this stuff.
Real quick.
Absolutely.
This just popped up on my feed, so I wanted to show it. Dante, who's always in the chat. Dante, are you in the chat? I think he might be in love with me or something, but like, that's not the point here. This dude, check out this transformation in the fitness challenge here. Holy shit. I did not expect this. Boom. Are you kidding me?
Massive difference, dude.
Dude, you're fucking shredded now, dude. What the? Look at your obliques popping out. What?
Massive
drugs
difference.
Are you on, brother? Dude, you are a freaking absolute animal. Dude, we're going to have like 50 of these, Sam, that we're going to show people. And I'm just showing this because it popped up on my timeline, a little teaser. We're doing 3 fitness episodes in a row. When Bullish gets back, he's on vacay right now.
We're going to announce the winner.
We're going to announce the winners to the fitness challenge.
Bring some people on.
And we're going to announce updates for the future fitness challenge. Bullish, just spit something out and tell everyone how you're doing while you're on vacation.
What's up, everyone? I'm tuning in from Colombia. I just saw my man Dante there, and I just had to like say something because I saw his before and afters.
It's great.
Man, bro, there's people in this fitness challenge that made like major transformation. Like when you see the before, I don't know if he uploaded the before, but when you see the before,
He did. No, we just showed it. We
oh
showed it.
man, yeah, dude, and there's a lot of them. So yeah, when I get back, we're gonna do like a 3-part stream, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know, we're gonna start with like bringing up some guests and some of the people who are in the challenge, talking about their story, their journey and stuff like that for the past 90 days. And then we're basically gonna lead into the winners, handing out NFTs, all that stuff. So, we're gonna make it a little mini event.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I didn't expect none of this shit. Okay, I want to explain myself for a couple things on the fitness challenge while we have a second, just as a little sidebar. Everyone hold your thoughts about Hedron. And if you have a question about Hedron or ICOSA, just drop it in the chat. We'll star it and we'll leave it for the end. So just drop that in the chat there. I have not been super active on the I've been working out, but I haven't been super active on the fitness challenge because I've been so overly consumed and I'm so narcissistically obsessed with streaming and doing all these things that I want to do. And I put myself in a position where I could do whatever I wanted. That is exactly what I wanted to do. The fitness challenge was meant to be a self-motivating, free, and helpful thing. And it exploded out of what I could have ever imagined. In the community is the gains that I'm seeing. We're talking about guys that have lost over 100 pounds, 100 pounds, and they're in there. And I'm not saying for anyone, if you work out, don't work out, whatever. We're talking about adults saving themselves from death. We're not talking about kids not being a little chubby here. We're talking about grown-ass people that have serious health problems that now can live their life to a degree of freedom. And it's been inspiring to me to see how it's self-fulfilled itself. Just because me and Sam were the first guys, I didn't do anything hard. All I did was relate the crypto and the fitness, and there was just a premium for that. Some people in this community really wanted to break through that, and I think we just gave them the okay to do it, Sam.
I'm excited to see these 3 shows because we're going to make them fucking awesome. Bringing on some people who want to share their stories and what they've been through, whether it's relating to their blood pressure or their cholesterol, or maybe their hormones improving, and sharing a lot of update pictures for people who are just making massive success. But with that,
wait, Dante's go back 5 minutes, Dante, and we shouted you out. We checked out your picture. Absolutely incredible.
What's up, Dante? And with that little interlude, let's get back into ICOSA and Hedron. So we have Hedron, right, which allows us to take our hex stake, put it into another contract, which we can sell that shit. So I could sell my shit to you, which we could not have done beforehand. So this adds a tremendous utility to utilizing the HSI or Hedron.pro front end to stake your hex. But there's also another piece to that. So you want to talk about the other piece of Hedron before we get into ICOSA?
Yeah, the advanced function. Yeah. So
or just the borrowing, yeah, exactly.
The advanced function. So I explained before how each individual person or each individual stake is entitled to a certain amount of Hedron. Well, you also have the ability to take an advance or mint all of the Hedron that you could have minted if you waited the entirety of your stake length. You can mint that today. And this is why it's an advance, because you're taking an advance on the Hedron that you would be entitled to if you waited a little bit longer. Now, but because this is an advance or a kind of a loan, there are repayment parameters surrounding that advance, where every 30 days you have to make a payment of a certain amount of the principal, and then there's a little bit of interest also on top of it. And it's made every 30 days. And if you go 90 days or 3 payment periods without making a single payment, then your stake gets liquidated. And what that means is that somebody else is able to pay off your debt because you didn't what's the word I'm looking for? You didn't
follow through on what you said you were.
Yeah, follow through. You didn't follow through with the rules that you agreed to when you took the advance on. Somebody else can pay your debt off, and then they would get your stake, and you would lose your stake. And when that happens, the stake gets put on a liquidation auction. And so everybody can bid a certain amount of Hedron. And at the end of a 24-hour period, once the stake goes on the liquidation auction, the person who bid the most amount of Hedron gets that stake. And all the Hedron that was bid, that won, gets burned out of the supply forever. And so that's a little feature where there's a supply sink within the system, as long as advances are being taken out and people want to accumulate these stakes for Hedron.
And I have a question about the 90 days in just a moment, but to give anybody context who's listening, why it might be valuable to borrow against a hex stake is because people run into issues in their fucking life, right? And they might need liquid cash for something, and allowing somebody to borrow
need liquid cash for something.
Allowing people to borrow against their hex, the value of their hex, could be very valuable. Now, I'm going to present the issue here for ICOSA too. With the Hedron borrowing, or the Hedron advance is what they call it, you can have, say, a $10,000 hex stake, right, that you put in through the front end of Hedron.pro, and you can take an advance against this, but the advance is like $16.20, right? So you can put up $10,000, and then you can borrow $16 against it. So if you think about this, you're like, okay, cool, I can still borrow against that $16 that I couldn't have before. That's liquid, right? Yeah. But then in the bigger picture, you're putting a $10,000 position at risk for $16 is another way to view that. You're like, okay, cool, $16 on the one hand. On the other hand, you're putting $10,000 at risk for $16. So a lot of people see this and they haven't been using this. And that is where we get into the use case, or the potential, or what this is trying to help with the ICOSA token protocol thing that is coming out. But before we dive into that, I want to ask about the 90-day not paying your bill with Hedron if you borrow, if you take an advance.
Oh, yeah.
Could I not pay the bill for 1 month, then pay the bill, and then does that timer reset, or is it the aggregate of the total 90 days?
So if you wait, say, 60 days, and then you make a payment, and then it starts at day 30. So it's like 90 consecutive periods where you haven't made a payment. So if you get to day 89, you make a payment, then it goes down to like day 59, if that makes sense.
We're getting he says, y'all changed my life. Blessings. Thank you. Man, if it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be here. 5 to 6 times a week, I meant. Appreciate Dante, inspiring to everyone.
Yes. No, you're good. You're good. Okay, so effectively, I could end my HSI without actually paying back my Hedron from.
No, because I think in order to when you take the advanced feature out, it locks out those functions of like ending your stake and stuff like that. You're not able to use those functions until it's paid back. Yeah.
Okay, so because somebody could, right? You don't make a payment, then you make a payment, then you don't make a payment, then you make a payment, then you don't make a payment for a year, and then effectively throughout the whole year, you've actually got 6 months of no payments. Is that accurate?
Let me think. You don't make a payment.
So let's set up an example. Okay, so right, 20.
I think at the end of that, the way you described it, you only have 1 month of not paying it. So like you miss a payment, and then another payment period comes up and you pay it, so you're back to just 1 period in debt. Then you wait, and then you don't make a payment, so now you have 2 periods of in debt, and then you wait another period, so you're at 3, so you're at 90 days. You pay it off, so now you're at 2 periods in debt. Then you go another period. Now you're at 3. If you wait any longer, another day, you're liquidated. So you have to keep up with it. If you just do it every other, eventually it'll add up and you'll be liquidated. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. So it is the cumulative. It's not consecutive. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's cumulative. Sorry.
Okay. No, perfect. That makes sense. That was what I wanted to know about the Hedron 90-day borrowing. Now let's transition into ICOSA, right? Like, we understand a lot of people who minted Hedron and continue to mint Hedron daily, as you talked about earlier, how that increases the supply and gets into people's hands. There's a lot of people who have bigger bags than us, and they just fucking dump that shit, right? And then, so that's an issue, right, with Hedron, or a potential issue from appreciation standpoint.
It's helpful to me.
And then, but then you also have the lack of borrowing, the lack of the utility. Like nobody's using that. So let's talk about how ICOSA could potentially solve both of those issues. Right, you're still going to have people who have a tremendous amount of Hedron they're making every day, and they just dump that shit periodically, like whatever prerogative is. They're just going to continue to dump. But how can ICOSA help solve potentially both of those issues? You want to give a bigger picture view of ICOSA?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start by kind of reframing the general criticism that people have had about the Hedron system, and it's exactly what you said.
And I'll add to that too.
The price of Hedron currently does not sufficiently incentivize people to take out advances on their loans, and so if people aren't taking advances, then by definition nobody can default. If nobody's defaulting on their loans, there are no HSIs on the liquidation market. And if there's no HSIs on the liquidation market, Hedron isn't being burned, so the supply isn't shrinking. And so now we have a situation where we have a large centralized group of people getting the majority of the supply because T-shares are unequally distributed, where only a small number of people have a ton of them. That's just how it works out. And they're just getting free money, dumping it, and then the price is just going down. And so because the price is going down, people aren't incentivized to take advances, and because people aren't incentivized to take advances, Hedron isn't getting burned. So at some point, some threshold needs to be hit for the price of Hedron to get the entire positive feedback loop for Hedron price appreciation to get going. And so one of the goals of ICOSA is to help get more HSIs on the liquidation market. Because if we can just get HSIs on the liquidation market, then Hedron will naturally get burned, because if you can get stakes cheaper on the liquidation market versus off buying HEX off the market, then naturally that's just where money is going to flow because it's economically efficient. And so the way it does that is through distributing ICOSA to people who willingly give up their HEX stakes to be liquidated. So now in ICOSA, you can sell your HSI to the ICOSA smart contract, and it will mint you a certain number of ICOSA based on the number of advanceable days that you have on that stake. So basically the number of Hedron that you could advance upon divided by the T-share rate. And actually this is something new that Alex has added in, times 10. So you get 10 times the amount of ICOSA now if you sell that HSI to the smart contract. You then mint that ICOSA, so you get that in your wallet immediately. The smart contract then takes an advance on that HSI, allows it to be liquidated, which puts it on the market. And so now we have a situation where HSIs are not only being put on the liquidation market because somebody took an advance on them. We now have another vector or another avenue for HSIs to be put on the liquidation market, and that's selling it to the ICOSA contract, because presumably you want to get this ICOSA token for some reason, which we can get into a little bit more.
Cool. Let's get more into that, but first, let's go through a quick example here. So we've got OpenSea here. Just the minting ratio.
So OpenSea, guys, is the and I know there's just most people know, but not everyone. OpenSea is just where you buy and trade and sell NFTs.
Thank you. And so this is what we were just talking about, the HSI HEX stake instance, right? And so this stake here, let's figure out just mentally to run through this, because we went through it very quickly. This is 5 T-shares roughly. And they're, let's see, they don't have any Hedron that is minted. The day served is 11. So walk me through how many ICOSA are going to be minted from, say, this contract. It's for 1,100 days.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I have a slide with stuff on this if you want to pull that up too. Like I have the whole formula written out. Cool. That might be a little easier than me just going off.
Absolutely. Any formulas are welcome.
Yes. Cool. Let's do that real quick.
Specifics. Wow. Who would have thought? Somebody who thinks about
this is why I asked.
Who would have thought? We could have just slid by it, but he's like, no, I actually care. So I actually wrote everything down, including the equations, guys. Whoops, my bad.
No, that was me. Go ahead.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let me pull it up on my side. Can you still see it?
Yes, sir.
Can you see it? Is it big now?
It is loading, and
Perfect. Okay.
That's great.
So, yeah, HSI buyback. So the ICOSA smart contract will buy your HSI by minting ICOSA, and then the amount of ICOSA minted is the borrowable Hedron divided by the T-share rate times 10. And so, like I said, the ICOSA is minted immediately. Oh, also a Quattro Cinco hex stake gets a 10% extra ICOSA. So you're further incentivized to send hex out for 15 years, which is pretty cool. And kind of as a side note for everybody listening, like just try to see all the different ways that this system and the Hedron system incentivizes more hex to be locked up for longer. And for those of you who understand hex, kind of understand like what that means for the hex price. But so then, yeah, the smart contract will immediately advance. The advance will never be paid. So let's take this example for just a 1 T-share stake. That's for the max stake length. We plug that into the equation. It's 5,555,000 advanceable Hedron, because that's the number of B shares. Your borrowable Hedron is the number of B shares times the number of the stake length minus days you've minted. For this stake, no, just like the one you saw on OpenSea, there hasn't been any mintable days. But if there were, you would subtract that from the advanceable Hedron.
So we've got one T share here in the example, which is 1,000 B shares. So you're going to be able to get 1,000 Hedron per day times 5,555, and that's where we're coming up with the 5.5 million.
Yep, exactly. Now, if you'll notice, the T-share rate right now, this is a little outdated. It's like 23,000 hex per T-share now because it always goes up. But you'll see this is divided by 228,180. And that's because in Solidity, they're on their decimals. So the actual number that's being run is 6 digits instead of 5 digits with a decimal. And that's just why it's just Solidity code.
So basically what you're saying, it's just the semantics of it, but it's really supposed to be 22,818. Is that what you're saying? But
and for any haters in the chat, real quick, this is all directly good for hex. So if you are smart, then you will shut up.
And so when the ICOSA contract calculates it out, it's going to use 228,180, not 22,818. Like that's how it's going to be divided by a larger number. So you're going to get less ICOSA. And so what that equals out to is Hedrology 101 Alex or one of his henchmen? No. That's somebody else. He's one of the mods.
One of his henchmen.
But
so 5,000. Go ahead.
That 5,555,000 divided by 228,000 gets you about 24 ICOSA. And then so the rest of that is just you're going to add the 10% bonus and then multiply all that by 10. And you get about 260 ICOSA for a 1 T share. For each T share that stake has, you get about 260 ICOSA.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm running through the numbers right here, and it looks just over 260. Okay, cool.
This is kind of rounded and not exact, but
same. When I was just running those through, so I could be completely off of my numbers as well. Okay, cool. So for 1 T share in this specific example, without any days share served, you're going to get about 260.
60 ICOSA.
Okay, so now. My point with this, and you saw that I think you might have sent a message on this a couple of weeks ago about this, right? So 260. So say what's the cost of a T share for 5,555 days?
Just say it $1,000 for now.
$1,000. Perfect. So $1,000. If ICOSA sells for less than $3.84 in this specific example, then you're selling your shit at a discount. Now, where that discount is going to be important, right? Like it's very important because if somebody has $1,000 T share that they're going to sell for 10 cents on the dollar, well, if they need immediacy, right? There's some people that will take it, but a decent portion of people would just be like, oh, well, fuck that shit. I will sell it for 50 cents on the dollar on OpenSea because I know I can sell it there faster, right? So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yep, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right for the people who need to liquidate immediately. Like if you're like, you're right for people who are able to wait to sell that HSI, that NFT, the stake to somebody else 1-to-1. Because one fundamental problem, maybe not problem, one limitation of buying and selling NFTs is that it's extremely illiquid. Like you need a buyer and you need a seller together meeting up in real time to be able to make that transaction versus a liquidity pool where people like, are putting their coins up and you can trade just like that. You can move in and out as fast as you can click those buttons. That's not the case for NFTs. So what this is allowing you to do is provide immediate liquidity to your HSI stake. So yeah, maybe you can sell your HSI for a 20% discount on OpenSea, but it may take some time for somebody to actually want to buy it. Potentially, like if it's a really high, like it's like 10 T-share stake, right? And we're at a point where like a T-share costs like $100,000. Like a lot of people might not be able to afford that, even if it's at a discount. There may be like a small portion of buyers. Now, let's say you're selling it at a 20% discount on OpenSea, but a 60% discount based on the ICOSA price. But that 60% discount is immediately liquid. So depending on the urgency that you need that cash, you may be forced to sell it via the ICOSA method just because you can't find a buyer on the direct NFT market. I think did Sam freeze?
No. Oh yeah,
Nope.
he did.
He did.
Frozen Sam. No, I know. I know what you're saying because of the Pokegon experience about the. Because I still be trading those things a little bit. It's fun. But yeah, you just wait for a buyer. Like you wait for a single buyer, right? Basically, you're waiting for a single buyer at the time. Somebody that likes that NFT in particular, likes that stake length in particular, and you're waiting someone at this point because the market's not flooded.
Yeah,
especially right now because the market's not flooded at all. There's nothing going on in the market right now. People aren't doing jack shit.
But Sam is correct, where like you aren't really incentivized to sell to ICOSA if you could feasibly get a higher price off the like OpenSea market or like the like Mint.
Yeah, but it's like extra work too. Like some people like to click that because it's a little, you know what I mean? Like some people just when you buy the Lambo, sometimes you just take the 5% because you don't care. And when you buy at the point where you're buying and taking out Hedron, you might be so advanced that like it just depends on the liquidity in the market. Like you're just gonna want liquidity, right? Like, like that's what I want, and I don't want a lot, but I want some. You know what I mean? I want because you know I won't be taking anything 10,000 max. You know what I mean? Like max. If I'm taking something out, right, or like moving something around, and that's just where I'm at personally. So I just want liquidity. I want it to be real. I want it to be, but if this was only like 0.001% of my bag and it was still a good amount, like if I was way richer, the way I played it would be just way different too. So I think you're right and Sam's right on that point because it's like, everyone looks for liquidity, but Sam's very detailed and he'll try to get the best bargain kind of guy. Yeah.
I have another slide I can pull up later after I explain it when Sam gets back. But basically, so say the ICOSA price on the market is less than the ICOSA or more or less. It doesn't incentivize you to sell it it doesn't incentivize you to sell it on the ICOSA contract. Well, what that means, there's a flip side to that, where now it's more viable. You can get more ICOSA off buying it off the market versus selling your HSI. And so now if there is just a base demand for ICOSA, we're just going to make that assumption for now. We can justify that later. But if there's a base demand for ICOSA and you can get it cheaper off the market than selling your HSIs, then everybody who wants ICOSA is going to go to the market. And what does that mean? The price goes up. Right.
Well, I just see it like the way that I see things. I just see it from like the bigger picture point of view. Like for me, like when I'm thinking about it, like I just know people are going to catch on. It's like a catch on thing. You know what I mean? Like people, it's just when the market pumps, people are going to catch on. So like, I just like to be in position. Like I like to be in position, in favorable position. So I don't even want to arb anything or do anything like that yet. Like, it's just not even like that. I would like to at some point, of course, but not now because the people that are in the market know the market right now. You know what I mean? Not all of them, but some of them, like most of them, people that are buying up Hedron right now, they kind of get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? They get it. Like they get what's going on. They don't care. They're rich and they think it's going to be explosive. And those are the only people buying Hedron right now, but that won't always be the case. Right? There's going to be more buyers and sellers, more premium there. And when I say more buyers and sellers, just more clueless people in the market that's where the premiums come from in every fucking market. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even all the way down to RuneScape, you know what I mean? It's the same shit. It's all the same shit. It's like some people know more. The people that know more have access to more premium because they know all the numbers. Like, and they know that everyone else doesn't understand the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I love that position. Being in that position is really great when you're understanding a financial asset that's complicated and no one else understands it. And it's not because it's like some complex thing that only like super smart people. It's like some people dig into shit for a while. Like Sloth, how long you been at this? Just like really paying attention. Like really paying attention.
So like Hedron and ICOSA?
Just everything.
Everything. I've been like pretty much devouring crypto content for like a little over a year now. Like a year and 2 months.
It's taking you to this point, probably being pretty studious about it to like get to the point where you're confident enough where you know that you know more than the average user.
Oh, yeah.
It just by far, you know it because you just put the screen time in and you understand the market. And it's this weird contradictory thing to like our whole schooling experiences. Like, because that's for a job, it's different, you know, but like,
hey, excuse me 1 second. I need to plug in my computer. It's about
yep,
to die.
please go ahead. I'm going to run. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to pull him down here. Sam's power went out. So he might be back. He might not be back. But guys, 111 in here. KSB TV, guys. KSB.TV/golf. I'm going to play both versions of the promo video, okay? There's two promo videos. One is for all the people that are mature, and one is for all the people that are a little like to have more fun and be weird. And I'm probably more on the mature side, but I think but it's funny and I want to play it anyway. So I'm going to type in. I forgot that I didn't have it loaded up. I only have one of them loaded up. I want to play this one first. Guys, I am going to be at the golf tournament. Let me know in the chat who's going to be at the golf tournament. Who's thinking about being in the golf tournament? Is anyone on the fence about it? Again, I'm not necessarily a golfer, but I am. What was I looking for? Oh yeah, Pulse Masters. Oh no, you probably got to go to the top. I hate how this overlay like slaps all the way down. If they could like pump that up to like here, I would like that more. KSP TV, Pulse Tour. Why am I having a hard time clicking through this? Sports events. Golf. Shotgun times. Here we go. All right, guys. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to run it twice. And then I'm going to talk about it for a second. I want to know who I'll be there. I'm not golfing either, RG. So we should, I'll give you a big firm handshake. How about that? I'll give you a big firm handshake when we're there. We can have a chat. I'd love to have a chat with RG. Sam, just stay down for a second. Stay down, boy. Oh, no, that's Sloth. No, I'm going to just play these videos twice. We're taking a 5-minute break. Sloth had to plug in his computer. Sam had a little lickerly in his internet, and we're all good to go. I'm going to play this video right this second, guys. KSB TV/golf. I'm not a golfer, but I'm covering it live. I'm getting content. I'm the camera guy. I mean, I'm the guy who's running around, getting interviews, talking to everyone, promoting everything, having a good time. I want to have a good time. And I want to know if you're going to be there so I can know who I'm having a good time with. Let's get Sloth down there. Fuck it. We'll get Sloth down there. All donations go to Sloth getting down there. He's in school, so he wouldn't pay for that. But I don't know if Sloth golfs. I don't really golf. Sam doesn't really golf. But here we go, guys. There's like 1 million people that golf. All my friends are obsessed with golf. They're all obsessed with it. I get it. It's amazing. I'm a weirdo. I'm going to be there having a good time. I'm going to get some swings in. There's a hole-in-one, $20,000 cash hole-in-one prize for one of the holes, guys. It's going to be insane. $20,000 cash. I think that's by internet money, too. I think that's KG internet money.
Join Hex Ladies at the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament on September 5th, 2022. This event is the official kickoff to PulseCon Las Vegas. Individuals and teams of 4 of every skill level are invited to party with us on the golf course at the renowned Revere Golf Club. There will be 2 shotgun start times. This is an event you do not want to miss. Come mix and mingle with golfers and influencers from all over the crypto space. Visit ksb.tv/golf for more info and to donate. You can also donate to Hex Ladies on Cash App. Join Hex Ladies at the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament on September 5th, 2022. This event is the official kickoff to PulseCon Las Vegas. Individuals and teams of 4 of every skill level are invited to party with us on the golf course at the renowned Revere Golf Club. There will be 2 shotgun start times. This is an event you do not want to miss. Come mix and mingle with golfers and influencers from all over the crypto space. Visit ksb.tv/golf for more info and to donate. You can also donate to Hex Ladies on Cash App.
Okay. I'm going to play before everyone, Sam, Sloth, take a deep breath, get back to the intellectual, absolute masterful, confusing for most people, absolutely insightful for me talk that we were getting into. We just made some great points, Sam, right when you got off about the premium for some people being over on the one site because they can get a better deal, and then the other premium being that there's actual more volume or more liquidity on the other side. So some people might just conveniently use that. It was an interesting point between what you two were saying. I'm going to play the dirty golf video, and then we're getting back to the conversation. If your kids are staring at GRC's biceps right now, tell them to turn away because I don't know anything about kids and how to deal with them, but I know that there's certain stuff you're not supposed to show them, and I want to be sensitive to that stuff. So kids, don't have sex or do drugs.
Where will you be on September 5th, 2022? Do not miss your chance to participate in the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament. This is the official kickoff to PulseCon, and the Hex Ladies need you to help get it in the hole. With any size donation, we will be willing and waiting to wash all of your dirty balls. The tournament takes place at the renowned Revere Golf Club with 2 shotgun start times, 7 a.m. best ball for you early dirty birds, and 1:30 p.m. scramble, sure to be an afternoon delight. So please consider donating to ensure your balls will be washed at our hole, and maybe you'll get your shaft shined as well. Visit ksb.tv/golf to donate and for more info on sponsorship levels, contests, and prizes.
There we go. We're back.
We're back.
So OpenSea, right? You have a boatload of liquidity over there relative to, say, other NFT marketplaces. What I'm assuming
It's getting close now. It's getting close now. There's other ones that are coming in, and they're like OpenSea. I'm just going to say this. I'm not sure if it's true. OpenSea, what I remember about OpenSea last year or a year and a half ago, it was all OpenSea. Now I hear people talking about a million other things and similar other things, NFTX. There's one that I can't remember the name of, but I use it. But they have better features. It's
like X2Y2.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and there's 2 or 3. There's other ones, but in terms of volume, OpenSea is still number one. And as far as the last time I looked into it, it could be wrong at this point. But the instantaneous, 20 cents on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar, whatever that comes out to be, could be attractive to a certain type of person who needs cash right away. I was assuming that's probably what I missed. And I'm not sure where
exactly.
we were going from
that
there.
was like what I was trying to say. There's like 2. I was mentioning the people that were in the Hedron market now. They all have something in common, Sam. They all know a fuck ton about crypto. There's not many people buying and selling and trading Hedron that are not completely, at least somewhat more advanced than the average user. So right now, the people that are using it, it might not shine in the ways that it could, because it's just very nuanced right now. But I was thinking in a world where when the price is going up dramatically, everyone starts to buy it because they know they're going to start to realize that it pumps harder because it's lighter. And they're just going to buy it, right? They're just going to start buying it. And that's when I'm going to start doing ARB. Like, I'm not going to ARB now. I'm going to ARB when there's premium on the people that don't know what the fuck's going on. Personally.
So this would be interesting. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on the value of this, right? In that one example we went through, if the ICOSA token trades at $3.84 in the marketplace, right? So you can go to, say, Uniswap and purchase it for $3.84. Then in that example where the one T-shirt 15 years out was $1,000, you get a dollar for dollar price for your HSI stake. But there's a decent chance it could sell for substantially less than that, right? So what are your thoughts on
Or
that,
more?
I
Let
don't
me
know.
just go over.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I
know it could. I'm saying it could if it just became explosive for whatever reason. Like,
How about I just I don't know if you watched
You're
my
right.
ICOSA 101 video, Sam.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, look, how about I just go through that part of the or the arbitrage stream that I had.
that would
I have
be.
the slides up. How about I just go through those? It's
I would
quick,
love that, brother.
and I'll give a good basis for everything. Let me.
Before you start talking, though, just because we're about to get in these slides, and I'm going to mute my mic and sit back and listen for a minute, guys. But just one more time, but we have great participation today. I'm loving everyone in here. We got 103 in here right now. I'm going to drop the tweet one more time. If you have not retweeted it, then get out of here. Do it for Dante. All right. That's all I got, guys. I'm going to mute my mic and listen here.
We're gonna get into those slides.
Biceps in the chat.
Okay. So for when you're looking at the ICOSA arbitrage opportunities, there are three potential states that the system can exist in. Because we can get ICOSA now from the market and we can get ICOSA from the HSI, there is potential that any delta between the prices is opportunity to use your capital in a more efficient way. And there are really three ways that this system can exist in. The ICOSA spot price being higher than ICOSA from the HSI, it being less, or it being equal. And those are the only three ways it could possibly exist. So,
I just touch on, explain what that means for people who don't understand what you just said.
Yeah.
Right, because there's going to be some people that just went over their heads. Yes.
Spot
So
price
the
just means market
ICOSA,
price.
yeah, the spot price is what you can buy it for wherever it's fucking selling, whether that's Coinbase or on Uniswap. What you're getting on the ICOSA from HSI is basically, that would mean how much you're going to be selling your HSI for per price. Is that accurate? Cool.
Yeah. That $3 and whatever cents that we calculated before, that's the ICOSA from the HSI. So it's like if you take the dollar value that it costs to make the stake and then divide it by the number of ICOSA that you get by selling the stake to the ICOSA smart contract, that's what that dollar value is when I say ICOSA from the HSI.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh. All right. So
greater than, less than, or equal to, and then you're about to jump to the next slide.
Yep. So just go through each of these individually. So let's say the ICOSA spot price is greater than the ICOSA that you can get from an HSI. And what that means is that you can get ICOSA cheaper from buying HEX off the market, making it into an HSI, and then selling it on the market. And you can immediately make a profit there. And so for this to happen, you would buy HEX and make an HSI, sell HSI to the ICOSA contract, sell ICOSA, and then you would receive a profit. So say it costs you $1,000 to get 260 ICOSA, but you could sell that 260 ICOSA on the market for $1,200. Well, that just incentivizes people to buy HEX off the market, stake it for as long as they can to get the most ICOSA possible, and then sell it on the market to bring that down where there's no longer that opportunity. And this is like the basis of what arbitrage is. This is the definition of arbitrage, basically. Where you can take your money in one place and then sell it somewhere else, and you get more money for the same thing. Now, when this happens, this increases the hex price because you're buying hex and then you're staking it for a long period of time. But then it'll, of course, decrease the ICOSA price because whenever arbitrage exists, naturally, when people take advantage of the opportunity, that opportunity goes away. But another cool part is that if this arbitrage ever hits, is that can you guys see the? Yeah, there we go. Well, when you're selling your HSIs to the ICOSA contract, they're getting put on the liquidation market, which in 90 days is going to allow Hedron to be burned and will indirectly pump the Hedron price. So if this arbitrage opportunity is ever reached where the market value of ICOSA is higher than what you would get from selling your HSIs, you're going to get an increased hex price, and indirectly you're going to get an increased Hedron price by more Hedron being burned. So this is kind of one of like the main.
It'll happen at the same time, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, it'll all happen at the same time, right? Like Hedron would pump. It would just mean all of these markets were inflating together, correct?
Well, this would be the example that you had talked about right before we got into the slides, where if you went through and sold your HSI stake, and you sold your HSI stake for more than what you made it for. So you made an HSI stake, $1,000 for a T-share, and then you go to sell that for 260 shares of this new token, and then you flip that on Uniswap for $1,200, right? So you just made that minus fees, and that this, in my opinion, is possible, but probably unlikely. But we don't fucking know, right? So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a possibility, like one of the three possible. If this ever happens, this is like the ideal place for like the system to get to. If the system gets to here, like everybody's winning. The people making the ARB are winning, hex holders are winning, and the Hedron people are winning. The ICOSA price drops a little bit, but presumably it's gone up really high to get there in the first place. So you kind of were winning just to get here already. But let's see, next one. Okay, so this is if the ICOSA spot price is less than the ICOSA from an HSI. And at this point, it's better to buy ICOSA off the market. And so presumably, if we assume that people want to obtain ICOSA, and we can get into reasons why people might want to buy this token off the market, the ICOSA price will increase until it equilibrates with the cost to make a stake, because that's more or less like the native value of the token, because you're always able to mint Hedron for that amount of money, because there's no actual market in terms of liquidity. It's just interacting with a smart contract. And then finally, if they're equal, no ARB, and all is right in the world. So those are the slides for that. Let me see what's. Oh yeah, and these are just. We can go over that later if you want.
The assumption though is the big hinge there on that second one. But I love the detail and the work that you put into this and the thought that you put into this. What are some reasons why somebody might find it interesting to hold ICOSA?
Well, because of the staking features. So we haven't got into the native staking parts of ICOSA yet, but you can stake ICOSA to earn more ICOSA and to earn Hedron. So Okay. Yeah. So the main reason why people would want ICOSA is to stake it to earn more ICOSA and to earn Hedron. That's the main reason why. Mm-hmm. And I guess let's get into how those numbers are calculated. Or if you had a question, Sam, go ahead.
No, this is interesting because when we're talking about this, I'm conceptualizing a very limited supply, right? Because 260 minted for every T share in that specific scenario is relatively small number, where you could easily see somebody like Alex or somebody who is go through, just because it would be beneficial to Alex because he created Hedron to build his own brand, to just buy up fucking ICOSA to drive the price somewhere in the neighborhood of closer to parity. I don't think it will be at parity personally, but somewhere in that direction, because it's not going to be a terrible ton of, you know what I mean? Maybe, who knows? But there's incentives in place for that.
I want to see the volume on this, like right away. Like I want to know how many guys are paying close attention, because there could be way more than we think. It could be way less.
Mm-hmm.
So the earnings of the ICOSA staking.
Yeah. So Yeah, we'll talk more mechanics, and then I'll talk a little bit more about kind of how the system will exist in those first 30 days, because it's really interesting. And actually, the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, I think the ARB will be reached fairly quickly. In my not financial advice, and in my just personal thinking about it, I could be very much wrong. But before, with the main arbitrage where you're immediately making money, it's very easy to see how people would take advantage of that because you're economically incented to. You're just getting free money. Seeing it go up to the ARB, I was like less certain before, kind of like you said. I'm like, I don't know. We'll have to see if that happens. But the more I thought about it, it's like, actually, especially in those first 30 days, it actually is almost just as likely for it to reach up.
So let's start there. Let's walk us through your thought process and why you believe that to be a higher likelihood than I do.
Yeah. So the reason why I think that is very likely is for a couple of reasons. First, I'll lay the premises out, and then I'll describe why, because you have to understand a couple things. First, the ICOSA supply starts at absolutely zero. Nobody gets this coin for free. If you want this coin, you have to put skin in the game somehow. And in the first 30 days, the way you get this coin, the only way to get this coin is to sell HSIs. So that's first. Now,
that's the first 30 days, just if you didn't catch that. The first 30 days, that's how you can do it.
Yeah.
But then
well, that would just be day one, right? As soon as day one happens, then somebody could just start a liquidity pool and then sell.
Yes. But where did that ICOSA come from? It came from somebody selling an HSI. So the only ICOSA that will exist in people's wallets or in a liquidity pool came from an HSI sale. Like at some point, somebody paid that equilibrium point, because there's no way to get around it. If you're selling an HSI, you're paying that. That's how much you're paying.
And then just for clarity, after the 30 days, is there the staking function can start to produce ICOSA?
Yeah, I'll get.
Okay. I was just curious in my head. That was for me.
Yeah.
And then we'll get on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the reason why that's the case for the first 30 days is because there are minimum stake lengths depending on how much ICOSA you stake. So if you're a whale, if you stake 1% of the ICOSA supply, 1% of the ICOSA supply, and this also applies to the Hedron pool, because the Hedron pool also earns ICOSA. So 2 ways ICOSA gets minted into existence: selling HSIs or being part of the staking pool. Now, because there are minimum stake lengths, the shortest minimum stake length for the smallest amount of Hedron or ICOSA is 30 days, just off the bat. So if you want to get ICOSA from your stake before 30 days, you have to do an emergency end stake, and you're going to redistribute a lot of the funds just to the people who are staked. So it doesn't really make much sense to do that. And the amount of ICOSA that will be minted via emergency end stakes at the first 30 days will be very little, because only small players are able to unlock in those 30 days. And large players, because they're locked up for either a year or 6 months, they're going to incur more fees or more penalties if they end stake within those first 30 days. Does that make sense?
Well, don't they just give up all their gains and 1% of the bag or something like that?
So if you serve only 1% of your stake, you only get 1% of your principal and your interest. And if you serve 99% of your stake, you get 99% of your principal and interest.
So what's the point in the stake then, right? Right? Because if I say, hey, bro, I'm going to do this for a year, and then I do it 6 months, and then you're like, okay, cool, I'll give you 6 months of the rewards. Then it's like I couldn't care less if I tell you 12 years, because if I just going to do it,
well,
6 months,
you lose principal. You lose principal too.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking. Okay, so you use 50% of the interest for the time period plus 1% fee on principal.
You use 50% of your principal too.
Oh, it is 50% of the principal in that?
I believe so. Yeah,
okay.
If I remember correctly.
Cool.
Somebody in the chat correct me if I have the numbers wrong or if they've been updated since I last saw it.
I think you're probably the top of the food chain in the chat for the information on the technicals.
So things have been moving fairly quickly because nothing's set in stone until that contract.
And Alex is a fucking workaholic.
Okay. Synergy said 50% to both. So if you have 100, if it's 6 months,
thank you.
If it's 6 months,
Alex.
Yeah,
that's Alex. I know that's you, Alex. I know that's you. No one else in this world could have answered that question that fast. I know so much about people, and I know that's him. Can you confirm that, Sloth?
I won't confirm or deny anything.
I knew it. I'm the smartest motherfucker.
Anyways, so say you have a 6 month stake, and then you end it 3 months before. Like your minimum is 6 months. You end it 3 months, and you staked 100 ICOSA. Well, you would only get 50 ICOSA back and then half of whatever interest you get.
Thank you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I sorry to derail you. Your thought
Nope.
process: first 30 days, minimum stake length, 30 days, and that's when.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's when at 30 days, that's when the lowest like staker class, like lowest staker class can begin to unlock their tokens to end stake. And so what that means is for that first 30 days, that's why in the first 30 days, the only ICOSA that will exist either in people's wallets or on the market is from people who sold an HSI to the smart contract and got that ICOSA. So if they're putting it in a liquidity pool in those first 30 days for anything less than that arbitration point that we were talking about, it makes a lot of sense to just buy it off the market instead of selling your HSI until it reaches that equilibrium point, because that's what anybody's paying anyways. That's what the person who provided the liquidity is paying. So they're giving you a discount by listing it for less than that.
If that was the trade-off, but the person who is selling is not trading off between those two things, right? They just need cash.
Well,
right?
This
Because
is
the person who's going to get rid of their HSI is going to be thinking like, hey, I need to fucking get rid of this shit. They're not going to be going through that trade-off as in, hey, I can take an HSI and get 12 Hedron, or I'm sorry, 12 ICOSA, or I can take this, keep this, and purchase 12, right? You know what I mean? There's a little bit of a distance between the two of them.
I don't see people selling their HSIs, and especially those first 30 days, because they need liquidity as a very big factor. Just because liquidity in general will be low, and that's a very small subset of people, I think, in the first place. So I think if that's happening, I don't think it's going to affect the price as much, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But also
That's
at the
more of
same
like
time,
that's more of like a future negative externality that will have less impact, I feel like, because the people that are in right now just don't, and this is my opinion, I don't know for sure any of this shit, but it seems like they know the market really well, and they know we're in a very weak part in the market. Weak sauce. And for everything, you know what I mean? So they're also banking on the growth of the market too, and being tied to the B share and all that stuff. But now I'm forgetting what we're.
So let me add another layer on everything I've been talking about, because and if you don't agree with these premises, we can hash them out. But essentially, we've gotten to a situation where the only people who are going to have ICOSA at the beginning are people who put skin in the game through selling an HSI, and then after that, if you want it, you can determine if you buy it off the market or sell an HSI to do it. But why would people want to even buy that token in the first place in the 30 days?
Correct. Why would anybody want to buy it?
Why would you do it? And the reason is because of yield. So the amount of ICOSA that gets calculated to be distributed to each of the staking pools is the amount of burnt Hedron divided by the T-share rate. And so in order for more ICOSA to be minted, Hedron needs to be burned, and then that gets divided by the T-share rate, and it gets distributed to each of the pools. Now, we have a couple months of history of Hedron existing before ICOSA has existed. And about 2 trillion Hedron has been burned already, both from the SA as well as the liquidation auctions. And that's 2 trillion Hedron is going to be...
SA is what again? I'm sorry.
The source address. It's like the OA equivalent in Hedron.
Okay,
it has a fuck ton of Hedron, basically.
So 2 trillion has been burnt.
Hedron.
Yeah. So 2 trillion has been burnt. Sorry to keep interrupting you. Go ahead, please.
And so that's 2 trillion Hedron that has been burnt, but has not been accounted for in terms of ICOSA. You know, if Hedron is proof of B share, then ICOSA is proof of burnt B shares, because you have to burn Hedron or burnt Hedron. It's proof of burnt Hedron because Hedron has to be burned in order for ICOSA to exist, both through the HSI sellbacks and in the staking pool. Now, what's going to happen with that 2 trillion Hedron that's been burnt is that all of that is going to be distributed to the staking pools over the first 360 days of the system that exists. And it's going to be distributed equally. So it's like 2 trillion Hedron divided by the share rate, and then divide that number by 360. And then that is going to be the amount of rewards that is going to exist for the first 360 days for each day.
So So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So we've got 2 trillion, right? Divided by 23,000, right? But it's actually going to be 230,000, right? Based on the semantics of how solidity is written, which would be 8.7 million ICOSA, right? 8.7 million roughly. And that divided by 365 is going to equal about 24,000 per day that is going to be split over this period of some period of time.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, let's understand that in T-share terms. Divide that by 260 because we did that for one T-share is about 260 ICOSA.
So there's going to be a stupid amount of it inflatable through Hedron and a very small amount inflatable through HSI selling.
Exactly.
92.
So there are about 92 T-shares worth of Hedron in rewards available to the staker pool every single day because of the 2 trillion that was burnt. Now, for the Hedron staking pool, the competition is a lot higher because so many people have this Hedron, right? Especially the people who have a lot of T-shares, they're probably going to be getting into a decent amount of the Hedron pool and taking up a lot of those rewards.
And don't forget that this was airdrop to hex stakers, chronic non-sellers, chronic long-term investors, and they do sell obviously, but they're chronic investors, really, like Sam was bringing up in the way they're just investors. Like they want to, a lot of them, of course, there's traders everywhere, but a lot of them are just investors. They've made a good amount of money and they want to see if they can get explosive gains. But that's just a side note. Please go on. I'm sorry.
But what about that ICOSA pool? Where are you going to get the ICOSA from? If you want a piece of that rewards and you want a large percentage of those rewards, well, how are you going to get that ICOSA? Well, you got to sell an HSI or you got to go on the market. And in that first 30 days, if anybody's selling their ICOSA for less than that arbitration point that we were talking about, then all the buying pressure is just going to go over there to shoot the price up anyways. And, Alex did some, napkin paper kind of math, and we could see double-digit daily APRs depending on the number of people that are staking. So it's like how much yield incentivizes you. Like if you're getting like 10% a day on your principal, like wouldn't it be worth to go buying some off the market or maybe taking some of your funds to buy Hex to sell it to get that ICOSA for the first 30 days? I don't know. I think so. What if it's, this would be even crazier. What if it's triple digit daily APR? What if you could double your coins in a single day just because there's so many rewards out there, yet not as many people are staking, because only so many people know about this. But then as people see that really high APR, like at what point they're going to be like, no, I need to get into this. Like I need to get a piece of this yield somehow just because so many coins are coming out right now that may not be coming out in the future. That's where I think some of that buying pressure would probably come from if that price of ICOSA is under the arbitration point we were talking about.
So, okay, cool. This is awesome. I appreciate you taking the time, and I feel like the chat is also enjoying the
Hey, we got the big brains in the chat today. Big brains in the chat today. I love it.
So I appreciate this. And now this is very interesting for the first 30 days, right? You can kind of like lock in, so to speak, before anybody else could get into the game in a sense. And then, after 30 days, you're going to have people who will just dump shit, right? Because if there's if somebody gets in on day one and right, we've seen the example of like, would you rather take $1 million or I'll give you $10 that doubles every day for 30 days or whatever the example is, right? And you're like, I'll take $1 million, right? But realize that the $10 would equal, $100 million. You know what I mean? And you just gypped yourself, right? Okay. So that idea, right, is going to happen potentially based upon what you're telling me could happen here and just have a shitload of it dumped on day 30.
Well, not really, because the only people unlocking their coins on day 30 are the smallest number of stakers. They're the turtle level and crab level people. So they're probably not going to get as many coins because that's in the Hedron pool. In the ICOSA pool, because there's such a low supply, like the supply is like actually inflating in real time, chances are most people who are going to be staking are going to be whales. So they're going to have a year lockup period in the first place. So that like super high
there's a minimum if you have a or if you're in this classification called whale, then you have to do it for 1 year.
Yep.
And if you're 1% of the supply or 0.1% of the supply, you have to do it for 1 year. The minimum you can do is 30 days.
Yeah. If you're like 0.0001, then like 30, anything less than like 0.001 is 30 days, no matter what. Like if it's one Hedron or one ICOSA you're staking, 30 days, no matter what.
For ICOSA pool, because the supply is zero to
That's what I was saying
at the start, every one is a whale, more or less 360 days minimum stake length, food for thought. And then
on day one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said he'd like to come on this week, so we will definitely be doing that.
He'll probably explain things a little better than me.
And
I think I'm spinning my wheels a little bit here. Sorry.
You're doing fantastic.
No, Sam knows how to get people spinning. That's what he does, and he's good at it. And it's important for all of us. It's important for me. It's important for him. It's important for you to question all of this stuff. It's very important for you. You know what I mean? Like as a young man, like Alex ain't your daddy, but he seems like a great guy, to be honest. I can't even I don't say that about everyone. I don't, but he really, and a lot of I tell Sam this all the time. And it's one of the things that I think that I'm good at is that I like to figure out about the founder. I like to watch them for months on end and just like, interact with their tweets, watch their tweets, look at their Telegram groups. I can catch a beat on people pretty good. And my beat is this dude's a workaholic and he's trying to fucking make shit happen big time. And he's thinking about it with the critical detail that he thinks he has to. This is in my opinion, to make, just like Richard did when he said, well, how can we make a better Bitcoin? Well, we don't want to pay gas fees, right? Now it's just like, oh, you want to be able to trade your stake? Oh, you want to be able to, and it's just, he's adding these features and he's thinking about them and he's interacting with very smart people. I know the guys this motherfucker talks to. Staked ICOSA is burnt ICOSA until unstaked. Oh,
similar to a Hex contract.
Hex,
so you just basically burn your. So that the reason that could be important is for tax purposes. If at some point we get clarification, or depending on how this story you want to tell your account or whatever. It could be very advantageous.
This has been great.
This has been super awesome. And I appreciate. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Sam. Have I kind of moved your needle at all in terms of like where you think things are going with the system a little bit?
Yes, because
just curious.
When I appreciate.
Yeah, give us the overview, Sam. Just go into your brain for a second and finish it off.
So I always enjoy my conversations. This has been what, 6th, 7th conversation so far that we've had, and I always enjoyed them. We had the conversation around Hedron. I did gain a different and a deeper perspective on Hedron, but I still didn't see any point in people using the borrowing feature, the advanced feature of this. Now, when I went through the white paper for ICOSA, I'm like, ooh, cool, this is awesome. If that price, of the underlying allows people to get some premium, you know what I mean, that you can get instantly, like this could be killer, right? But if that's like hinging on that piece there, and then when you're talking about the semantics, the details of this, I love the detail that you brought to this, and I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but this is bullish for Hedron, assuming there's enough people that can understand this, right? Because we're at this level, then we're at this level. Like you got crypto, and then you got like Hex, which is hard for some people to understand, and then you've got this other layer on top of that, and then you've got this other layer on top of that. So from the adoption standpoint, there's probably going to be people who have plenty of cash getting into this to extract more, like, right? We understand this, but we don't necessarily have the cash that a lot of players do that are understanding this at the level that we're understanding this. A lot of people who are watching this don't have that level of cash. Some of them do, right? But then they're going to be the players involved here. But I don't know if I'm more bullish on the ICOSA or more bullish on the Hedron.
Well, I'm bullish on all of it because it all works.
Not knowing what the fuck any of this shit is and me taking advantage of it.
Well, it's cool because all three of these tokens really work together in at least I think a profound way. Because so you have Hex, Hedron, ICOSA, and then you have staking pools within ICOSA. And as economic mass flows into one part of that triangle, it incentivizes people to go to another part of that triangle or another part of the staking pool, which then like incentivizes people to move into another way. Like the way money moves within these three tokens somehow indirectly pumps another part of the token. Like it'll pump Hex, Hedron could be pumped, ICOSA could be pumped. And then when that happens, it incentivizes you to go to another part of the system to then pump it up. It all works together in a really synergistic way through arbitrage opportunities, using money effectively, being able to leverage your Hex stakes if you choose to do so. All of them really work together in a way to kind of enrich the users and enrich the people who use the system kind of as it was designed. It has a cool Nash equilibrium, if you've heard of that.
Yes. Yeah. As you're describing it, some term that may be more familiar with people than Nash equilibrium would be like a flywheel, or how some Amazon has done certain things there, where this part of the business feeds into another part of the business, and this feeds into this. And what that happens is, as each part feeds each other, the whole entire system grows faster and faster and larger and larger.
And the name kind of like implies that, or like the way it is, it's like it's three tokens. Three is a triangle. The triangle is kind of the base geometric shape of like a hexagon. And then a hexagon is like the base geometric shape for like an ICOSA Hedron thing. Like each thing is like actually like layered in an abstraction of itself. And it's like even within like the naming of the tokens.
Yeah, no, I've definitely gained a much better understanding and appreciation for both of these, far greater than I did before this. What can you give some people, if you have an idea, right? And if Alex comes on, we'll ask him this question. What is the time frame? Have you heard anything on that when this is coming out?
So testnet is not live now. Dropped last night, and so the bugs will be worked out. The kinks and the bugs will be worked out. And I think if I remember, and Alex is the actual authority on this, so take whatever he says over what I said. But a couple weeks from now, basically, is kind of the idea.
So can we pull up the testnet real quick before we wrap things up? Cool. Where do I find that? I can pull it up.
I got it. Go to ICOSA Twitter. It'll be right at the top of their bio.
Is it in the private chat or? Oh
no, it's in the top of their bio. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Because this will be interesting. Because I think if people,
I thought you were gonna scram. That's the only reason I wasn't pulling it.
I was, but I was like, we took people this far. We said we're.
Oh, I know. I was hoping.
We did. There's a whole part of this we haven't talked about, and that's the We Are All the SA staking pool too.
And we can keep going. Hey,
we can leave that for homework for people if they want, or we can
do another episode too. Like we could just do another episode with Alex. He said this week we could just do the whole thing because he's working out the bugs now. Anyway, I was reading the Telegram. He's going back and forth with people about the bugs on the testnet, which is what you're supposed to do. Don't worry. So maybe we'll wait a couple days. Everyone know the testnet's out. Go to the Telegram. I'm gonna drop the Telegram right now for ICOSA, and we are going to just. I think it's just a good time to close because we just got it. And people's brains are done.
This is perfect. This is perfect time.
Yeah. And Alex said he'd come on later this week. We can have him. We can have Sloth. We can have good times, and we can join this right up here. And you can interact with him as you use the testnet. He's very interactive on there, and that's again, guys. You don't find this everywhere. So you got a guy that's working on the bugs and willing to come on a stream and in the Telegram and coding all day. Good times in crypto, guys. You can't do that in legacy finance, baby. So legacy finance is trash. Keep your money out of the banks. Don't listen to anything your parents say, and you'll be good to go.
Do you want to have any closing thoughts here, Sloth? And tell people where to find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Crypto Sloth on YouTube. I have a bunch of resources, videos on Hedron, ICOSA, and kind of like how the two systems interact. I'll be talking about more stuff than just Hedron and ICOSA, but this is kind of like the main thing that's happening and that excites me the most. And then on Twitter, you can find me at Sloth Crypto 3. And so, give me a like, give me a follow, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I'll be talking about more stuff in the future.
Let's get him to 1,000, guys. We got to get him to 1,000.
I'm getting close.
762, guys. I want you to go directly over there. After you smash the like, get your ass out of here. Go over to his channel, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, and then you're good. T-shares are king. Hedron is a proxy to that king. I agree with that sentiment. That's all I've ever been banking on. It's like all the back and forth conjecture. I'm like, I already know what the fuck's gonna happen. It's like when you see Hex go from 2 cents to 56 cents, you stopped it. Like I watched it, I felt it, I looked at my number
I was there
all day, every day, and I was like, holy shit. And when you know that power exists and it's going to exist again, because it didn't just go up, it stayed up. It was up. You could have taken money out at any moment for months and months and months and months and months. And I did not. So, but again, I did take, as we got down and I confirmed bear market for me, I definitely did take some out, but that's not the point. Anyway, guys, everyone have a great day. It's been amazing. If you love this show, and you better throw a bicep in the chat. And if I have never seen you in the chat and you're in here listening, go to your phone, hit the bicep in the chat so I can know you're here, guys. Bye.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker. Richard Heart. Richard Heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 everything we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, here's mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.